This is my final capstone project for Geography 340, Environmental Geography with Professor McCabe. I decided to go with the topic of the Netherlands and the sea, examining the impacts of SLR on coastal Holland. These are just a few pictures of coastal Holland and the Netherlands in general. To begin, we're going to be looking at the geography of the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a country found in the northwestern part of Europe, and it is divided into 12 provinces, and it is mostly made up of flat terrain. It also has reclaimed land from the sea, and a large part of it actually lies below sea level. Specifically for this capstone project, we're going to be looking at coastal Holland, although these other areas right here are actually going to apply, as you'll see in the next slide. So the history of flooding, the catastrophe that comes with flooding is not exactly new to the Netherlands. This is because of its geographic location. It's actually situated on the delta of three of Europe's main rivers, those being the Scheldt, the Meuse, and the Rhine. And also because, as I mentioned, it's mostly flat terrain and a lot of it is below sea level, so floods are a common threat. Although obviously not a good thing. And the history of flooding dates back to thousands of years. It did start as more sporadic and natural, as we can say, but has now increased and become somewhat constant because of the causes of flooding, which I'll highlight next. And though many floods have occurred over time here, it's the 1953 flood that set the momentum in motion for what's been done to help coastal Holland. And so this picture right here is from the 1953 flood that occurred. As you can see, it was super impactful to them, and I can only imagine how that felt and what impact it had on them if flooding today is still dramatic and has a dramatic impact for many of us. And these are also just pictures of more recent pictures of the Netherlands and flooding. And as you can see here, here's one of a man walking in what I'm assuming was a street with water now all the way up to his waist. Continuing on, a few causes of flooding for coastal Holland are going to be sea level rise, climate change, storm surges, and land subsidence. To highlight what sea level rise is, as we've learned in class, it can happen naturally, and it has happened naturally, which is known as eustatic change. But more recently, it's been caused by humans, I guess you can say. And so what happens is that greenhouse gases are added to the air by human activities, which causes the planet to warm, which then warms the oceans, which means the land ice is melting. And as we know, when water expands when it's warm, which takes up more space, causing the sea level to rise. And then I also wanted to highlight what the storm surge is. It's basically, this is supposed to be the normal high tide, and then it's going to go right up and go right inland, which is what's happening in coastal Holland. And then also land subsidence, which can be seen in this picture right here. Land subsidence is basically when the water is withdrawn from underground, and it's mostly withdrawn from like grainy sediment, which causes basically, it's holding it up, but then it causes, when you take out the water, it causes it to just drop down and weaken the overall structure, which can be seen here in this picture. The house is basically slanted now, and it probably was a little higher, but the land subsidence caused it to drop. And then these are just some other photos highlighting the flooding in coastal Holland and how it's really impacting people and just, causing a general negative impact on them, as you can see in this guy right here. I also wanted to highlight this map right here, which is showing how more than half of the Netherlands is located on flood-prone land. The dark blue here is what's below sea level, which is 26%, and the light blue is what's above sea level, 29%, which is not that big of a difference. And then the orange is going to be below and above sea level land, specifically that is unprotected. So as you can see here, although this is below sea level, it is being protected by things like dike rings, dunes, and dams, which is going to be discussed right now. So a few key measures that have been taken by Dutch policies are going to be flood prevention projects, one of them known as the Delta Works. There's also the establishment of the Delta Commission, which was established in 2007, and then the Maas-Land barrier, which plays into all of this. And so basically, many of these Dutch policies were created to, just help the overall economy of the Netherlands as well as the people and its structure. And so infrastructure projects were created, damming flood-prone estuaries occurred, and concrete seawalls. And these pictures right here are going to be the barriers, like the Maislant barrier. And I included this GIF to kind of show how the barriers work so we can get a better understanding. When these projects were being worked on, they were like, wait, we can build a wall, but where are our boats going to go and where are we going to get our things from? So basically they created, I guess you could say, an automated barrier. So it's basically like two gates that open up to allow the shipping containers to come in and out along with other things. But when the sea level is rising and floods are occurring, storm surges are happening, these are going to go ahead and close up, protecting the further inland area. And basically the water is just accumulating here, but these walls are holding it back, so not much is happening on this side of town. But yeah, continuing on, what else is being done by these policies? Floating homes are being created, which can be seen here. You can't really tell they're floating, but they are. They're on the water. And then farms are being moved inland. So basically the farms used to be closer to the coast, but as damages continue to happen, they realize that that's not really going to help. And so a lot of farms have been moved inland, which has been really beneficial to them. And then areas have been artificially elevated. So for example, roads that used to be in the flat terrain, which were impacted by the floods and the sea level rise, are now being built up. So you're kind of basically driving above the water. And then dikes have been installed, which are basically walls and like sea walls protecting you from the ocean and the sea level rise. And then also, I wanted to highlight this right here, which is I thought it was just a windmill, Holland and Netherlands popular kind of symbol, but this windmill is actually helping the overall terrain by sucking up water that's in this area. So basically, not allowing it to overflow. And here's like a little art installation of trees floating in the water, kind of just highlighting the Netherlands' innovations when it comes to dealing with sea level rise and the overall innovative infrastructure that is being done. So what does the future look like for coastal Holland at the Netherlands? They are being super proactive, and they're continuing to come up with new ideas, new practices, improving their infrastructure to just help the overall well-being of the people of Holland and the Netherlands, and economically as well. And I was reading this article, and I really liked this quote, which is basically the title, that's saying they live with the water and don't fight it. So solutions are not short-term in the Netherlands and coastal Holland, but rather long-term to allow people to live comfortably and deal with the sea level rising and climate change, and also while improving and trying to fight for those things like climate change. But yeah, these are my references and the end. Thank you.